Hello and welcome to my latest career video. Now this career video, features former coloured heavyweight champion Bob Armstrong, so we will go through some of his career information, starting with his major opponents. So Bob Armstrong, as you can see, didn't even have 40 fights, but he still mixed in some good company, albeit having a short career. So he fought Joe Butler, former coloured middleweight champion, on 2 occasions, defeating him both times. He also lost to former coloured heavyweight champion Frank Childs in all 3 fights they had. He fought a trilogy and scored 0 wins, and he also fought and lost to former heavyweight champion James J. Jeffries. Now next up, one of his main rivals, Denver Ed Martin, another former coloured heavyweight champion. Also with not a massive career, Bob Armstrong scored 2 wins, 2 losses, and fought to 1 draw in that 5-fight series. He also fought to a draw against Hall of Famer Joe Choyinski. Good morning, Martin. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you are well. He then also twice fought and twice defeated heavyweight contender Frank Slavin, before then fighting former pounder and puncher Joe Goddard to a draw. Next up is Mexican Pete Everett. Bob Armstrong fought him on 2 occasions, scoring 1 win with 1 loss, and he fought and lost to heavyweight contender Big Sandy Ferguson before closing out his list here with a win over contender Jim Jeffords. So there are 19 fights there, quite a lot of fights there because he didn't have a very large career. From those 19 fights, Bob Armstrong split it between 8 wins, 8 losses and 3 draws. So on to the first of his stat slides for Bob Armstrong. He scored 15 knockouts in his career. 9 of them were in 3 rounds or less, and 2 of them were in the first round. Now Armstrong scored 2 KOs against champions. He scored 0 KOs against Hall of Famers. He also scored 2 KOs against pounders, but 0 KOs against rated fighters. And in terms of rounds boxed, really didn't fight a lot of professional rounds. Bob Armstrong fought a total of 228, 55 of them were title fight rounds, 64 were rounds against champions. He also fought 16 rounds against Hall of Famers and 36 rounds against pounders. Now obviously, like the KOs against rated fighters, rounds against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters, ring champions is 0. Bob Armstrong total pre-rating era fighter. So on to the first of his more niche opponent categories, the champions. Now Bob Armstrong, from his short fight number, still had 11 fights against champions, and remember there wasn't even the full 8 divisions fully established in the lineal line yet. He scored 4 wins, 6 losses and 1 draw from those 11 fights, and he defeated 2 individual champions. They were Joe Butler and Denver Ed Martin, and Bob Armstrong also scored stoppages over both of the champions. He defeated Joe Butler and Denver Ed Martin. Now when we go on to the Hall of Fame category, he scored 0 wins against Hall of Famers from his 2 fights, fighting a defeat to James J. Jeffries and fighting a draw to Joe Choyinski. So he has 2 fights with no wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. Thus he defeated no individual Hall of Fame fighters and scored knockouts over 0 Hall of Famers. So on to the pound category. He had a total of 5 fights against pounders, scoring 2 wins, 1 loss and 2 draw. He defeated 1 individual pounder, that was Frank Slavin, and he also scored a stoppage win over Frank Slavin in his career. He fought him twice, but scored stoppage win over him. So there are the main niche opponent categories: champions, Hall of Famers and pounders for Bob Armstrong. Again, some fighters back in this time, like Corbett and Jeffries and many others, Denver Ed Martin, didn't have massive careers. Other fighters had huge careers. Some fighters fought kind of off the circuit in unofficial fights. Some fought, like Corbett, lots and lots of exhibitions instead of having lots and lots of professional fights. And then you had other fighters who fought lots of professional fights, sometimes 10, 20, 30 fights a year. So it is a strange time because not all fighters did that. Some fighters' careers went completely different ways to others. So from the pounders, we go on to rated opponents. Now obviously as a pre-rating era fighter, Bob Armstrong fought no fights against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters or ring champions. Thus he defeated no individual rated fighters and scored knockouts over 0 individual rated fighters. And when we go to his title fight record, Bob Armstrong did have a title fight record. He had 7 fights in total, scoring 3 wins with 4 losses and no draws. Bob Armstrong did make 2 title defences and he scored 3 title fight KOs in his career. Now, wins against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters, and ring champions in title fights are obviously 0, being pre-rating era. He did score 1 win against champion in a title fight, but scored 0 wins against Hall of Famers and 0 wins against pound-for-pounders in title fights. So, on to our final slide. Titles won, okay, and Bob Armstrong captured the coloured heavyweight title in his career. Bob Armstrong, known as the King of the Battle Royale. Battle Royales were particularly brutal events where a whole number of people would go in a ring, and the winner was the last one standing. It was basically a free-for-all, like cockfighting with human beings. Outrageous practice. And, didn't matter how big the men were, how little the men were. If you were 130 pounds, you could end up in that ring with a 200 pound monster trying to take your head off. Complete outrageous events. But, thankfully they were stopped. Bob Armstrong, fought through the Battle Royales, fought on the unofficial circuit, built a decent pro career indeed, fought a lot of good opposition, and managed to capture that coloured heavyweight title. So overall, he did quite well considering the circumstances he faced. So, there is my latest video. I am virtually done with my next 10 videos on my top 1,000 countdown, going 900 to 801. So, during the next week, those 10 videos will begin. I may get one more career video in before that, or I may have to go straight into those. But many more videos coming over many coming days, months, and years. So, I'll say good day to Martin. I hope you have a good day, my friend. Be well. Look after yourself. I'm the Boxing Librarian, and I'm out for now.